Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Harris, and I'm one of the Senior Associate Directors of Admission at Villanova University. And I'm also a graduate of the class of 2006. And really, on behalf of our entire office and our entire university, I want to be one of the first to be able to welcome you all to our class of 2025. A huge congratulations. Thank you for joining us on night one of our virtual programming. And I know we're going to have a lot of great sessions and opportunities for you over the next couple of weeks. And while I know those of you that are joining us this evening are at various stages of your decision process on where you'd like to attend college this fall, I hope tonight will be helpful to you as you look to finalize your choice. Tonight, our session will be covering student life and the first year experience, which, as we all know, is a huge topic. So we'll be definitely covering a lot of ground over the next hour. I'm joined by two of my colleagues and fellow Villanova alumni who have worked for years in our offices of student life and student involvement, along with 6 of our current students who I know are excited to share their Villanova stories with you. But all that being said, tonight is really for you, and we want to discuss all the topics of interest on your mind, questions that you might have, and you'll note that there's a Q&A box on your screen. I encourage you to use that to submit questions or topics that you want us to talk about. And since we have a large group, we've actually kind of opened it up where you're going to be able to see the questions that others have submitted, and you actually can upvote and downvote those in order to help bring to the top the questions that you really want us to address this evening. So let's get started. And I'm excited to first introduce Kathy Byrnes, who is our Associate Vice President for Student Life. Kathy is going to tell a little bit more about student life at Villanova.
Thank you. It's great to be here with all of you tonight, and I'm just thrilled that I see in our participants 330 people. That is very cool. So it is great to have you here. I myself am a member of the class of 1982. I feel like about 10 years ago, there were a lot of my classmates who were parents. Now I'm entering into the next generation. But I left Villanova for several years, actually practiced law for a while, and then came back and have been part of student life since 1991. And I currently have the pleasure of serving as the Associate Vice President and have a good overall sense of what we offer to our students. So that's what I'm going to share with you as we start in very truncated fashion. But I often like to say we kind of have 3 big areas in student life. First, we have services and outreach to students. Then we have really health and well-being services for students. And then we have programs and activities, which J.J. Brown, who will be introduced shortly, will talk more about. So for me to cover the first 2 things, the services and outreach, just so you have an awareness of what we have and where some of our priorities are. We have a terrific Dean of Students office that helps not only with community expectations, but really with the personal concerns and the personal attention that sometimes is needed by students as they may have some bumps in the road and need some extra support and assistance. We have a terrific Office of Intercultural Affairs, which works closely with our other offices around DEI issues on campus, both working very much with our underrepresented students, but also working with all students in trainings, programs, education, really working to help each of us be kind of the best version of ourselves so that everyone at Villanova has a good and similar experience and is welcome at all turns. We have residence life. Most freshmen, sophomores, and juniors live on campus, and about 50% of our seniors now live on campus with the new residence halls called the Commons. And so in a normal year, we have about 5,400 resident students and a very vibrant residential community that I'm sure you'll hear some of our student panelists talk about. We also have a great program focused on some specific populations like 1st and 2nd year programs, students with disabilities, our international students. And the goal really is to try to make sure each student has whatever unique things they may need to help make their Villanova experience what they want it to be and need it to be. We also have terrific health services, which frankly in the last year have been very utilized. We have a terrific student health center that is open all the time, not only during COVID, but open 24/7 during the semesters when classes are in session. We have an overnight infirmary. We have physicians who are full-time, nurse practitioners who are full-time, and we very much function like a robust family practice. We also have a counseling center, which is available for both individual therapy as well as some groups. And they also do a lot of education on campus. And then our other part of health services is our health promotion office, which does programming and education around well-being, whether it's sleep, stress, eating, alcohol, drugs, sexual decision-making, sexual assault, misconduct. Huge bystander intervention program training goes on out of their office. I think we have something like over 3,000 of our students have gone through the bystander intervention training, which is one of the kind of premier tools for students to help students around a variety of issues. So that's just a really quick snapshot. We also have first year learning communities called COMMUNITAS that I think some of our students will also talk about. So very quick snapshot of all the things that fall under the umbrella of student life at Villanova, with the exception of our great programming and student activities and student organizations, which I will turn things over to our terrific director of student involvement, JJ Brown.
Thanks, Kathy, and good evening, everybody. It's so great to be here with all of you, and looking forward to talking to you more about Villanova. And I was a graduate in 2007. And like Kathy mentioned, our student organizations really provide that sense of home, and Villanova means new home. And we really hope and try to provide, and working with talented faculty, staff, and then students, of course, to provide that sense of community with our students. We have over 250 student groups on campus. That includes academic organizations, culture and identity student organizations, student interest groups. There's also club sports, peace and justice organizations. We work with colleagues in campus ministry as well, political organizations, campus recreation. And then, of course, if you can't find it, you work with me and then some other students in student government to create different student orgs. And over this past year, we also, hosted our student involvement fair. In the fall, we held it virtually. It's our sincere hope to have something in person, during this spring semester, but we really try to facilitate that connection early on in the semester where students meet student organization leaders, and it's an open fair where they can, meet the different student orgs through tabling, and then they can sign up, to hear more about whether if they want to run on campus, whether they want to join the cycling club, whether they want to join the art club, whatever that might be, they have an opportunity to go ahead and do that. So student organization is a large part of student life on campus. We also provide leadership programming, for not only training for our student organization leaders, but then open to all Villanova students to sign up and be a part of our Villanova leadership program that we have a part of our office. And then last, but certainly not least, campus-wide programming and initiatives. Our late night programming, we want our students to have something fun to do, some safe ways to get involved on campus at night, Friday and Saturday nights. This semester, we've been creative and in many respects worked with our colleagues to provide some good programming, whether that's Quizzo that takes place every Thursday night, or whether that's, partnering with many of the community first, initiatives and events, that are taking place throughout the year. So looking forward to talking with you more about student organizations and student life in general.
Thank you both. And now I'd love to introduce all of our students as well. And so maybe we'll start with the seniors and kind of work our way down. And so Luke, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I can try and kick us off here. First off, welcome everybody. My name is Luke Brinkman. I'm a senior finance and economics major from Vienna, Virginia. And Matt, would you like us to talk about our just a couple things we're involved in on campus?
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, great. So guys, some of the things I'm involved with are campus ministry, the Villanova Wildcat Fund, and I do a lot of intramural sports, just to go very quickly.
Thank you. And Tyler, you want to go next?
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? My name's Tyler Sheeta. I'm a senior economics major from Monroe Township, New Jersey. Some of the things I'm involved with on campus are the orientation program, student government, and I'm no longer involved, but used to be involved with Greek life.
Great, thank you. And Hannah, would you like to go next?
Hi, everyone. My name's Hannah Murphy. I'm a sophomore political science major from Western Massachusetts. And like Tyler, I'm very heavily involved in the orientation program.
Awesome, great. And then we have some of our first year students, which were just in your shoes a year ago. And so, really are fresh on this search. And so Mary Kate, would you like to go next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Kate. I'm a first-year nursing student from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Some of the things I'm involved with on campus are Nova Dance, the Art Club, and the Community First Committee.
Great. And then Manisha?
Yeah, hi. I just want to say welcome. My name is Manisha Badali. I'm from Marlborough, New Jersey. And so I'm a marketing and business analytics major in the business school. And some of the things I'm involved with on campus is obviously Blue Key, VSB ambassadors, and Nova Nussa, which is a Bollywood fusion dance team.
Great. And last but certainly not least, Preston.
Hi everyone, I'm Preston. I am a first-year cognitive and behavioral neuroscience major and philosophy minor from San Diego, California. I'm involved in Blue Key and student government. Oh, and the pre-med club too. I cannot forget them. They are very important here on campus. Welcome, guys.
Great, thanks everybody. And thank you for those of you who are starting to submit questions. You know, I thought that it would make sense to kind of tackle some ones that we frequently get. And, you know, all of you that are coming to Villanova are coming from so many different places. Last year, I think we only had maybe 1 or 2 schools that sent a double-digit number of students. So most people are coming 1 or 2 from their high school. So if that might be you, you are not going to be the exception, and everyone's going to be looking to make new friends and get to know new people. And so I know a couple of our students are involved in our new student orientation program. And I was wondering if you would maybe want to talk a little bit about those first few days on campus and how we're going to welcome all of these students into the Villanova community.
Yeah, I can introduce a little bit, and then Hannah can fill in any gaps that I may have missed. Our orientation program is different from most colleges. Instead of having 1 or 2 days over the summer where students come to kind of see campus and get acclimated, our new students at Villanova move in 5 days prior to the first day of classes, and there's a day dedicated to move-in, and then there are 4 days of orientation. So each new student is assigned to a group with an orientation counselor, and there's about 15 to 20 other students in the group. And they spend the next 4 days together doing a variety of like team building things, but also getting informational presentations, both from students and also from faculty and staff at the university. They'll meet with their advisor and they'll get to know the other students in their group as well as students in other groups. It's just a way to kind of get acclimated to the campus physically, to like know where their classes will be on the first day and stuff like that, but also just to have a group of students that they will know before they even go to their first day of classes, and have their orientation counselor as a resource for them, and be able to see some people on the first day of classes and wave to them while they're walking through campus. So Hannah, if there's anything else you want to add, go ahead.
I think you really covered most of it. I would just say that orientation counselor acts as a resource for their new students, not just during those 4 days of orientation, but throughout the entire first semester and throughout their entire Villanova experience. And they're also connected to a network of all those other orientation counselors. So if there are any questions that your orientation counselor can't answer, there's always someone that has that answer.
Thank you both. And then I know kind of the next really popular question that seems like we are getting is talking about that first year housing experience. And there's a lot of things that fit into that bucket in terms of the room selection, the buildings, living on South Campus. And so I know a lot of you will have input on that, but do you want to talk a little bit about that first year housing process, kind of that how it all gets selected, and you know, is it guaranteed and things like that?
Was that me, Matt?
Well, Kathy, that would be great actually if you want to talk from kind of a
well, I can tell you a little
standpoint.
bit of the administrative piece of it, and then maybe our 3 freshmen can talk a little bit about what the reality is that you experienced. And it's funny, I just texted our director of housing to find out about a little bit more about the process of the date. So basically, students are invited to have access to the housing contract. And then housing assignments are based on the date that you fill out that housing contract. So note to self, when you choose Villanova, the housing contract will go live on May 1, and fill that housing contract out as soon as possible, because that will help you get into what might be perceived as the larger buildings. And by large, I don't mean the building itself, but the rooms within the buildings. Our freshmen live, about 1,100 of them live on South Campus, and the other 500 live on main campus. Our main campus buildings tend to be smaller buildings, so anywhere from literally 27 people to about 100 people. So sometimes people can feel like, oh, I want to be in a huge building. But my own tip as somebody who lived in some of those smaller buildings is the small buildings are a wonderful way to really get to know everyone in your building. And it's almost more of a, and I see some of our heads nodding, so maybe we have some students in some of those buildings. But, you know, every building has its charms and every building has its challenges, in all honesty. They're residence halls. But assignments are on date of deposit. And many people asked about single rooms. We do have housing primarily in doubles for our first year students. And we like that because it seems to be a nice natural connection to have with another person. If somebody requires a single or needs a single, whether for health reasons or other reasons, they are available, but just in a more limited supply. And you may end up living with students from other years, not only freshmen too. The last thing I want to say before I turn over to the freshmen, and I'd be curious what our first year students on the call have to say, my own tip I always give to parents when I talk to them and students is to be wary of like finding that perfect roommate through social media in the summer. Like sometimes I feel like that sets an expectation of, oh, this is going to work out great, and it may or may not. I have found many more success stories when people go random, as I think the students will call it. And part of me thinks it's because people have moderated their expectations or maybe are just a little nicer to one another as they're getting to know each other in person. But I will turn it over to Preston and Manisha and Mary Kate for any other thoughts.
Well, of course.
Oh, no, you
Nisha,
can
wanna go ahead?
Okay, no, okay.
Okay, perfect.
I've never done a webinar before. Okay, so again, hi, welcome, congratulations on getting in. It's a really big deal. So, and I know that housing is like a huge thing. For me, I saw a lot of questions in the chat about COMMUNITAS. So I am actually in a COMMUNITAS. I'm in the Global Perspectives COMMUNITAS. So basically how COMMUNITAS works is that you are taking an extra 1 credit class once a week. It's probably like an hour, 45 minutes. It really depends on your instructor. And basically you talk about whatever the title is. So I'm in Global Perspectives. We talk about global identity. We talk about current events. We talk about politics. I mean, we all decided to watch like the primaries together, like in one of the COMMUNITASes during the fall. And we also just have a lot of discussion. Usually it's in person. However, this year it's on Zoom because, you know, COVID. And I know a lot of people also ask about like how close do you get with the people in your COMMUNITAS, and you do get really close really fast because in that COMMUNITAS, you're also living with them as well. So you not only do you see them in class, but you also see them in your hallway. You see them when you're passing by, when you're just going to the bathroom or when you're going down to the lounge. And it's also a great way to just feel like you know somebody in your building. I would say COMMUNITAS is probably the best decision that I made. I know I had some upperclassmen friends who who decided to come here to Villanova say, COMMUNITAS is amazing, I love it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm really glad about the building that I got, even though it probably was not my first choice because leadership, I think, is the most popular COMMUNITAS. So I live in Catherine Hall and I love Catherine. I have a little bias towards Catherine. Also, my orientation group was there as well, and we all became super close. They're actually in the next room studying while I'm here in Tolentine, and they all were like, "Oh, you're doing a panel?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And then, but we're all super close. We literally hang out all the time together, especially with COVID. Like, you want to keep your bubble pretty small. But, you know, it's just like a really great way to get to know people. Again, it's an extra 1 credit class. So with the extra 1 credit last semester, I ended up taking 18 credits. And then for the second semester, it counts as 0 because you finish it out like towards like the first week of March. So I know I only have 1 more month of it, but it really was like a great experience just to get to know other people's perspectives, get to know like deeper connections with people, and also like as a first year student, just to get to know people, be able to say hi to people on campus. I thought that was really great. I can turn it over to Preston now.
As a quick follow-up before Preston goes, Kathy, are you aware when the topics for the COMMUNITAS for this upcoming year will be released? I know it's typically with the housing contract.
They actually are already on the website. So if you go to Villanova's homepage and then just type in COMMUNITAS, and it's like commune, ITAS, kind of like Veritas, Unitas, Caritas, COMMUNITAS, all the themes. We have 8 or 9 themes slotted for next year. And Manisha mentioned the global perspectives, but there are several, and you can find them on the website.
Thank you. Sorry, Preston.
Oh my God, no, go ahead. So for me, I have a totally different living experience than Manisha. So I actually met my roommate over the summer. We got to chatting. I know Mrs. Bryn said, like, don't meet your roommate over social media. I actually did meet my roommate over social media, but he's become like my best friend ever. He's actually a part of the honors college. So when we were doing living, our housing assignment, we actually lived in St. Monica together with all the honors students, which at first I was like really worried about because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want these kids to think of me differently because, you know, I'm not the smart one here, but like they are the smart ones. But living in St. Monica is probably like one of my best experiences of freshman year so far. Every single person knows each other in there, and it's like a little family. I know that I can text my friend who lives upstairs, any one of the floors, and say, hey, do you want to go get dinner? And we're like, all right, let's meet in the lobby, and we all go get dinner. So I've had probably one of the best experiences living first year. I really do love South, and it's really cool because you know, sometimes when you're dreading walking to an 8 a.m., you know, you see sometimes your friends also dreading walking to an 8 a.m. Like I know one time I saw Mary Kate, we were both, you know, dreading, of course, walking to our 8 a.m.s. And but it was nice because I had a little walking buddy to Maine at 8 in the morning. And of course, Mary Kate, please enlighten us.
Yeah, so I had a very similar experiences to both Manisha and Preston. I live in a communitas too. I actually live in leadership. Villanova is huge on community. You're definitely going to hear that word about 1,000 times. But it's so true. Even within like the community of Villanova, I have an even smaller community just within my dorm. So I have 16 people that I take 2 classes with together. So I see them like 3 times a week. And we've all gotten super close. And it's really nice. Just, you don't even think about it, but just like knowing the people that you're walking past in the hallway is really nice. And I'm sure like a lot of people enjoy living in the bigger dorms, but I've really enjoyed living in a smaller dorm. To the roommate question, I also met mine on social media, which definitely be wary, but I love my roommate. She's great. It worked out really well for me. So I would say try your hand at that. If it doesn't work out, don't stress, because I also know plenty of other people that went random and absolutely love and could not imagine their life without their random roommate.
Yeah, just to add, I forgot, I went random. So I was trying to find a roommate on social media and I could not. My roommate Emma, she's in the environmental leadership one because Catherine Hall houses, I believe, 4 different communitases. So because they're all like the smaller ones and not as like chosen or popular. And I know I couldn't imagine my life without Emma. She's amazing. She's incredible. Like we met each other randomly and we're literally from different sides of the country, but she's amazing. I love her. So random roommates do work.
I know we've been getting a lot of follow-up questions again about the learning communities. And so there's a ton of information out on our website, Villanova's website. And again, it's something that you'll select as part of your housing contract. And you would request a specific learning community. They are all assigned to specific buildings, but your request for that learning community would be looked at kind of initially as part of the housing piece. So it's not like you just get assigned to a building and you're in one. You would have to kind of actively make that selection as part of it. But as you can hear, they are very popular, and I think people that are in them really do enjoy that. And I think that's a great segue kind of into this first year experience of just getting involved then beyond you know, orientation and then moving in. And JJ spoke a little bit about the activities fair and some of the organizations that we're in. JJ, do you want to maybe talk about some of our larger organizations at Villanova and some of the more popular areas that people will typically get involved? And then would love to hear from the students on, you know, some of the things you've loved to do over your time at Villanova.
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things, you know, is for you to be patient with yourself. You know, so when you're coming into Villanova, there's a lot of different options, you know, and even right now, like you might be thinking, you know, you're super passionate about something, and then you get to, you know, Villanova and it's your first week on campus, like, I don't want to do that anymore, you know, and that's a-okay. You know, they vary in levels of interest and commitment. So there's a lot of different programs, you know, the Student Government Association, you know, some of the students on here are involved with, you know, that really gets you connected with, you know, things that are happening on campus and programs that are happening on campus. Our Special Olympics program, you know, it's the largest student run, you know, Special Olympics program, you know, they say in the world. where we would typically welcome, Special Olympics athletes from all across Pennsylvania. We have a fundraising, program with Nova Dance, raising awareness to, pediatric cancer and money being raised, that'll be in April, this upcoming year. In addition to that, there's a lot of different other student groups, like whether if you're interested in, going outdoors, we have an outdoors club, whether that's art club, many great culture and identity organizations, Black Student Union, African Caribbean Villanovans, Samosa, ASA, that typically have expos and showcases, on campus. In addition, we have different language groups. If you're interested in some of the academics, you can follow that up with, student interest. There's either that's with programming or coding or business or SNAP with nursing, or engineering, whatever that might be, it's totally up to you. So those are some of the quick highlights, and then I'll turn it over to some students if there's any other areas that I'm missing.
Or is there anywhere else that you all are involved about in an area you'd like to kind of just share a little bit more about?
Yeah, I can talk about a little bit about different organizations on campus. I know you had mentioned Samosa. So coming onto campus, I also saw a question about diversity, so I can hit two birds with one stone. I definitely was afraid. Obviously this is a Catholic school. Catholicism is very rooted in the culture here. I mean, we talk about Veritas, Unitas, Communitas, all of this stuff, and also you are required to take theology and Augustinian cultural seminar. So I definitely was afraid because I am not Catholic, I am Hindu, and I'm coming to school because of its great reputation, but I still wasn't sure about how I could get involved. But Samosa is one of those examples where it's a large organization, so I get to meet a lot of people that are like me, where I can feel like I belong and I fit in. And it's not like you don't fit in on campus, it's just that I still wanted it to be actively involved in my culture. And that's also why I joined the Nova Nusa dance team, because I did classical Indian dance for 12 years of my life, and I didn't want to stop once I came to college and I was really lucky that Villanova really hones in on diversity. They really try to make sure that everybody's represented. And so they had this competitive dance team that was perfect for me. And also I'm able to talk about things that I might not be able to talk about, in theology, for example, with these people. So I thought that was really great.
I think I can talk about sort of just getting involved in general. It's definitely a learning experience, I would say. I didn't really know sort of I didn't have any, I guess I didn't have my heart set on anything when I came in as a new student. But just as important as figuring out what you want to do is figuring out what you don't want to do. And so maybe you try something and you don't like it, and that is just as valuable of an experience as trying something and liking it and kind of running with it throughout all 4 of your years at Villanova. So I think don't be afraid to try things, even if it's don't go into college with the mindset of you have to do everything, or the only things you can do in college are things that you did in high school, because it's a time to try new things and you should be branching out. And it might take time for you to find the things that you really want to get involved with here. A lot of the different organizations have some sort of application process, and you might get rejected from things. I got rejected from a bunch of stuff my freshman year, and it's tough, but it also kind of taught me how to deal with rejection and kind of figure out what I wanted to focus my attention and time on, and what I wanted to apply for again. So I think it's not, it might be a little bit of a roller coaster, but that's normal, because regardless of what appearances may say, everyone has ups and downs in college. That's part of it. And that's part of the learning process. So don't be afraid to try new things, and don't be afraid to also admit to yourself that you don't like something, because that's a very valuable experience as well.
If I can jump in there off of what Tyler said, it's what I would say is try 3 things. So the first thing is academics, think about what you're majoring in, branch out, dive into that academic major. The second thing, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, whatever that might be, there's different opportunities on campus. And then a stretch, set lean into that discomfort, try something new, because this is the time to do that. And this is a great space, to do that too. And don't with those, keep it at those 3 around that area, because you don't want to overcommit that you don't have time to take care of yourself, which is so important too.
I think I could speak to that just a little bit. in high school, I was the kind of person that was like, I want to be in more clubs, like I want to be more involved. And coming to Villanova, there are so many options, and it was like overwhelming to go to the activities fair and see there's so many options. But like JJ was talking about, like if you focus on one or two things that you're really passionate about, you can really build community in those groups without being overwhelmed by having a meeting every night of the week. So I think definitely finding those things that you're passionate about and giving yourself to those is a really great way to build the community without overwhelming yourself.
I can add on to this just a little bit as well, very shortly. Now that I'm a senior, and I know Tyler can speak to this as well, oftentimes as freshmen, like trying to find that balance, and like I've read a little bit in the Q&A, like striking a balance in college is very difficult and a little bit of a touchy thing to do, and kind of figuring that out is very difficult. And often what freshmen do is they start wide but not deep, meaning that you join a lot of organizations, but your involvement and your leadership within those organizations is not as great. But as you move through your college experiences, you kind of really start to delve into what are my interests, what are my passions, and instead of wide but not deep, you end up deep but not wide, meaning you end up in leadership positions and very involved in what you're truly interested in and passionate about. And by like your junior or senior year, you kind of know that group that you're in, those things that you're involved with, those things you're passionate about, and that's when those extracurricular experiences become especially rewarding.
Well, thank you, everyone. And, I would say one of the most popular questions that I get when I'm out visiting high school students looking at Villanova, and it has risen to be the most popular question here too, or can we just talk about some of the traditions at Villanova, whether it's different events or things we do throughout the year that are kind of special to Villanova? And, I think as the students talk about it, and I say, go as long as you've got ones to share. I would talk about both pre-COVID times as well as kind of where we are today. And for those of you watching who aren't aware, we have been back this entire school year on campus. So it has been a different year, but it's been a good year still. And it's been really nice that even in these challenging times, we've been able to be on campus since August, and things have really been going well. And so would any of the students like to start with maybe one of your favorite traditions or things that we do, and then kind of just go from there with others that you might have?
Something I loved as a first year student was getting involved with basketball. I have been watching Villanova basketball for a while before I even came here, so it was something I was really looking forward to. And we usually kick off the season with an event called Hoops Mania, where it's just for Villanova students. They introduce the teams, they do like some scrimmages, and then we even had a performer come to campus and give us like a concert after. So that was a really great event to go to. And then there are great opportunities for students to get tickets to games. You can enter a ticket lottery. So I ended up going to probably 4 on-campus games, and then also probably 4 or 5 games in Philadelphia last year during my first year. So that was a really great way for me to spend time with my friends and get involved with athletics on campus.
I can chime in here. I would definitely say that the Villanova community does definitely unify around basketball, but something that we also definitely unify around is service. Sort of in September and then in January, we have 2 large days of service where the community comes together. You can come together with a group of friends, with like a group of people that you do an extracurricular activity with. I know my freshman year, I did the St. Thomas Villanova Day of Service, which happens in September, with my orientation group. So the 20 of us and our orientation group counselor did it together. But basically, in pre-COVID times, you would go out into the surrounding communities in the Philadelphia area and go and help people in need in any way that it might be. Like, it's a whole diverse array of activities you could be doing. And now that it's actually, in COVID, what we ended up doing this year is my group of friends got together, and on tent on West Campus, we ended up basically making kits so that kids could make arts and crafts at some schools where they may not have the same opportunities that me or someone else would. So we are able to continue it forward, maybe not as well as we would like, but we still do that. And that's definitely something that the Villanova University and the student body does incredibly well. I know we get incredibly large attendance at these days of service, both at the MLK Day of Service in January and the St. Thomas Villanova Day of Service in September.
I think a newer tradition that I've seemed to come to like is food truck Fridays. I know that sounds really, really weird, but as part of the community first which community first, if you don't know, is like kind of our commitment as students and faculty and staff to the university to try to make sure that our COVID cases stay down. So to prevent larger gatherings and unmasked gatherings, they are actually providing free food trucks on campus every Friday. They started that in the fall, and let me tell you, not having to use a meal swipe to go and instead get really good food. Not that the food here isn't good, but like the food truck type food that like I used to love like back in like Jersey and New York. It was so nice. And I like was able to like hang out with my friends and be like, hey, do you want to go to the fire pits and then we can get food and then maybe we can go to Time to watch a movie. And like I thought that and like I was gonna mention St. Thomas of Villanova Day. Obviously, Luke had mentioned that. I really enjoyed that as well. But I think also just these little traditions of like, let's do a movie and food on Friday. And I feel like Villanova is doing like a really great job, especially right now, of making sure that they're making students feel comfortable while also keeping them safe on campus.
I know one tradition. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to jump in, and I know Hannah and Tyler may speak to this, but really the whole orientation program and the class of 2024 had an altered experience of the orientation program without a doubt. But there are things that happen every year during orientation that become part of the Villanova experience. And it's these goofy cheers that they do. It's a beautiful closing ceremony that was done this year virtually in the new Mullins Performance Center that several of the orientation staff participated in. But many of the traditions do start right as people walk in the door. And, you know, whether I was a freshman, frankly, in 1978, and some of those things the freshmen in 2021 will also do. And then, of course, there are many different things, you know, in orientation as well as it has evolved to the modern age. But orientation is a huge, huge tradition here. And it's a time where students, no matter where you're from, no matter what your background, but students will say they felt like they belonged, they felt like they were a part of Villanova. I think our orientation staff works really hard to help every student feel known, feel valued, feel a sense of belonging. And those are values we have that we try to carry through the whole Villanova experience.
Mary Kate, did you have something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, one tradition that I really enjoyed getting involved with this year, it was last semester, is 1842 Day, which is like a campus-wide fundraising day for the university. So all the different colleges do a bunch of different fundraisers, but the part that I really enjoyed was they just gave away a bunch of stuff. So I got free ice cream, dining services gave away cupcakes, there was like a swag bag station and like balloons. It was a really great day. It was sunny, it was beautiful. It's like all that you imagine Villanova to be is that day.
One thing I'll quickly add is with a lot of our different student groups, you know, some of them have specific ones within their areas. So Fraternity and Sorority Life, there's certainly a lot of traditions that are involved with those chapters that take place on campus. A cappella showcases is another really big one with music activities. There's a lot of students on campus that are very, very talented, and they had a showcase take place in the fall, looking to do something similar potentially in the spring, right? So like expos with our cultural showcases, BSU does an annual showcase, ACV does an annual fashion show or showcase, Samosa, like we said before, like they have their showcases, ASA. So that's been really fantastic to see and be a part of. And then finally, senior week, we provide bookends. So in the beginning, we do some welcoming, and we provide some opportunities and programs for our seniors to be together as a class one last time before they graduate.
And I know we've kind of alluded to it, but we've got several questions that come in about Greek life at Villanova and fraternity and sorority life. And, you know, in addition to the traditional fraternities and sororities, and we also have a large multicultural Greek council that includes 5 of the Divine Nine. And oops, you'd think after all these months, I would not be hitting my video on and off. So sorry about that. But I know Kathy might be able to speak a little more, but also if any of the students, if any of your friends or roommates have gone through the recruitment process, or just want to talk about what level of presence does it have on campus? Do you have to be in one to fit in? And kind of all those questions that we often get.
I'll start with a little bit of an overview, and then maybe some of the students can weigh in, whether you're in a Greek organization or not, just what your experience of them is. One of the things that I think is most distinctive, and we're not the only ones that can, I would say, brag about this, is but we do not have Greek housing. So when people join a fraternity or a sorority or a Greek organization, you're not committing like, these are the people I will live with. And one of the things that always makes me proud is, I remember one year I knew very well the president of one of the sororities, and she'd gone to the national conference or convention, and her 4 roommates her senior year were all in different sororities. And I feel like that speaks a lot about the Greek experience at Villanova. It is one thing you do. For most people, it is not the only thing they do, and it's not exclusive in that way. As Matt indicated, we have multicultural Greek council, and we have ethnic affiliated or based groups that of course are open to all, and all people join, but sometimes people are interested in joining the culturally based groups. We also have Panhellenic chapters. Our Panhellenic chapters, frankly, are big because a lot of the women tend to be interested. And so we have probably more than 35% of our female students are in a Pan-Hell sorority. And we also have IFC and a fraternity council chapters. We have, I think right now, 8 chapters, and about 18% of our men are in a fraternity. So there's an Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life that works with the students in the recruitment periods. The multicultural Greek organizations, their recruitment times vary depending upon their national organizations. So there isn't one set time in a given academic year when those organizations are having their recruitment. For Pan-Hell and IFC, it's much more lockstep. Typically, it would have been now. It's usually right at the beginning of the spring semester. We do not have recruitment during first semester for first-year students. We wait till the spring. But because of the COVID outbreak and the COVID numbers, and even though it was designed to be all virtual, we know people are people, and there was going to perhaps be opportunity for people not just to be virtual in an unofficial way, that we thought the safest and healthiest thing was to right now postpone recruitment. So ideally, our COVID numbers will be better, and we'll be able to offer that virtual recruitment later this semester.
Yeah, going off what Kathy said, I would say definitely getting involved with Greek life at Villanova would not be like the traditional, I guess, what you would probably think of when you get involved with Greek life. And I think a big part of that, like Kathy said, is because we don't have any Greek housing on campus. So it's sort of not, the presence of like a Greek row is not something that we have on campus. That's not to say that like that some people don't, that is not the thing that they're sort of most engaged with on campus. But like Kathy said, it doesn't have to be. And it can be like one of many things that you do. It doesn't have to be like an all-encompassing experience. Like I know a lot of my friends at other schools would get involved with fraternities or sororities, like that would take up all of their time. That would be the thing that they would do. But that was not my experience here, and was not the experience of a lot of people involved with Greek life here. I think one thing that I really appreciated was, like Kathy said, you can't rush until the spring semester of your freshman year. And that gives you opportunity to get involved with other things and also to meet other people. So that's like how Kathy said, you have the president of a sorority living with girls from 4 other sororities like their senior year, or people living with people from other Greek life organizations, or who are not even involved with Greek life because they met them before they got involved. And so it also takes a little bit of the pressure off. I know for some reason around Greek life, there's like this pressure when you come to college, like, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? And it sort of gives you that 1 semester buffer to get your bearings and not sort of like have to make a decision like 2 weeks into college when you don't even know like the number of your classrooms. Like you're having to decide whether or not you want to rush, and that's going to be something you're involved with for the next 4 years. So I think having that semester buffer is really nice. And it is a great way to meet people. But it's also like, if you're not interested in it, it's not something that A, you have to get involved in, or something that B is going to be like in your face every day. So it definitely is, like Kathy said, something to do, but not something you have to do.
Kind of going off what Tyler was saying with that buffer, I was a freshman last year and decided to not go through the recruitment process, but this year as a sophomore, I decided it's something I might be interested in doing. But last year I felt like I was still finding my place at Villanova, getting to know like my college life and figure everything out. And I didn't feel like it was something I needed. I had some friends that were going through the process, but a lot of friends that weren't. So it just wasn't something that I was extremely interested in. But now, especially with COVID, I'm just looking to reach out to more people on campus, meet more people, especially form connections with upperclassmen. So there's definitely no pressure either way. It's a very personal choice of what you think is going to be best for you and your Villanova experience.
I will say that for people that have joined fraternities and sororities, for many of the people that I know, it's a great social outlet. So if that's something you want to do, definitely go for it. I know so many people that have made such good friends through it. For myself personally, I never went through the rush process for a variety of reasons, but I would say probably more than half of my friends are either in a sorority or a fraternity, and I don't feel left out. I have things to do, and like I said, you basically can determine your level of involvement within your fraternity or sorority, meaning like those can be your best friends if you want them to be your best friends if you so choose to join one. But it also doesn't have to be that way. Like my closest friends just happen to be the same people that I became closest friends with my freshman year, living in the leadership learning community in St. Monica's Hall. And that experience is going to be different for everyone, but you can make the most of it. If it's something you want to try it out and see if it works, then great. If it doesn't work out, it's totally fine. It's definitely not something that's super in your face. And like Tyler said, you can do it. You don't have to do it. It's really not a big deal if you do or you don't. I think Villanova is a very conducive place for making friends regardless of what you choose to do.
Well, I know that I've seen we're having a lot of questions from people who maybe have never gotten a chance to come to campus. And I know it's such a tough year as you're looking at colleges, and it just maybe hasn't been in the cards to be able to visit. Just from our standpoint, we're not currently offering tours, and we ask that you please don't come to campus at this time just until we kind of feel in a more comfortable place with being back from break and where COVID cases are and things like that. But we really do hope to find a good opportunity in March, potentially April, to hopefully be able to find a good time to welcome you to come to campus. And so I promise you that is in the plans and in the works. And so we will be sharing more information with all of you as that would become available. And we will definitely prioritize all of you if there are visit opportunities as admitted students over people who might be juniors or younger who'd be wanting to come. So I promise we got your backs with that. But maybe to that benefit, if I could ask the students, maybe for the freshmen, if you didn't get a chance to visit last year, how did you kind of make that decision? And also maybe just for everyone, can you talk a little bit about our local area and our connection to Philadelphia and things you might do in both places for those who have maybe not ever been able to come to the area and experience what campus is like?
Yeah, I can take that. So basically, I was fortunate enough to visit like twice before I did come. So I visited in September, the week right before my school started my senior year. And then I visited again during Early Action Candidates Weekend, which I'm really upset that you guys may or may not be able to experience that. It was a really great weekend for me to just be able to see how vibrant the Villanova community was. But I hope you're still getting that same experience today on this call, just based on what we're talking about. I can talk a little bit towards like the off-campus stuff because I have gone a lot off-campus safely, of course, even though it's like a COVID season. So I think I answered some questions in the chat, but basically for freshmen, you're not allowed to technically have any like cars on campus or anything like that. Typically, like freshmen don't really get that privilege unless there's obviously a special reason. But there's also campus shuttles and there's trains. So the campus shuttles basically are a great free resource, which is great. It's like basically this one big school bus that comes picks you up right in front of one of the places, Connolly Center, and then they take you to different stops. So I've gone to Wegmans to pick up groceries. I have went to KOP, which is King of Prussia, one of the largest malls in the country. And it's really great because within King of Prussia, you can go to so many places. You can even go to food courts. Like you can do so much. And it's great shopping, great retail therapy. I've also gone to Suburban Square, which basically I've gone out for like eating with my friends and things like that. And also again, shopping. And it's just great to get off campus that way. And the campus shuttles also have times where they can pick you up from those locations that they dropped you off at to bring you back. And then I've also taken the trains. So I've gone to Philly and I've gone to Wayne and Ardmore, etc. So Ardmore and Wayne are like a couple different towns that are around Villanova. So they have like a lot of cute stuff. I know Wayne is probably my favorite town to go to. They have like a really cute like little strip mall that feels like kind of like old town charm. Like I've gone to a bookstore. I went to CVS. We went to go get brunch the other weekend. And for Philly, there's 2 train lines. There's one on South Campus, so it's really close, especially for freshmen. If you just want to be like, want to go to Philly, sure, like you don't have to like walk all the way or Uber all the way to like a train station, or you can go to the West Campus one, which is a little bit farther, but they said that West Campus was like super far away, and I was like, oh, it's so far. Like, no, you can do that in like 10 minutes. Like you can walk there in 10 minutes using the bridge, and it's great, and I really liked it. It's super accessible and it's super affordable too. So if you're worried about expenses and things, like it's actually not that much money, like for a train ticket to get through to and from Philly. And yeah, my experiences off campus have been great.
For me, for someone who's from California, and I kind of made my Villanova decision during like the peak of COVID and back in March and April, I didn't get the opportunity to come in person to Villanova. So I kind of went in here blind. I did do like a virtual tour, and I had the Zoom webinars like all throughout April. I got to meet some upperclassmen, got to talk with them over Instagram, and just to get their experiences. So that's how I kind of visited, quote unquote, Villanova before I came to campus. And it has not let me down at all. I love it here. When I first moved in here back in August, I was like blown away by everything. So if you do not have like the opportunity to visit campus for whatever reasons, like do not panic. Like I didn't have it either, and it's still gonna become your home no matter what.
And we're going to continue to do programming like this through the end of April. And so, you know, I think a lot will depend upon to what level we're able to welcome you to campus. And so if we're able to do that, we'll kind of shift more that direction. But if we're not, we will continue to ramp up and offer things like this throughout the next couple of months also. And so stay in touch with us, anything we can do to help make those connections. And I'll have some contact information for you at the end of this presentation. Kind of our next question that's risen to the top is, would any of the students like to talk about just the academic environment at Villanova? You know, what are classes like? What are classes like in COVID? You know, is it a supportive, you know, how competitive is it when you actually get into the classroom at Villanova?
So I know for me,
oh, you got it, Mary Kate. No, you got it.
I know for me, coming in, I was very worried about the academic environment. Obviously, Villanova is a competitive school, and so then it's probably going to be hard when you get here. So I was worried about that. But I found that as challenging as it is, there's just as many people behind you that want to support you. I always thought in high school, I don't know why, but your teachers make it seem like professors are going to be the scariest people on the planet. And they're the nicest people on the planet. They want to help you more than anyone else. If you stay after class, they will help you with anything. So it's definitely challenging, but I also think you're really going to surprise yourself with how much you're able to accomplish and just how often you're able to rise to the challenge. They're not going to put you in any situation where you're destined to fail. There's always going to be people there to help you, and you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I guess sort of just to add on, I definitely think the faculty here are incredibly helpful. What I like to say about Villanova, and this may sound cheesy, but we like to literally and figuratively hold the door open for each other, whether that is the faculty, the students, the alumni. Like classes may be hard. Like you may come across some classes that are just going to be a very difficult subject for you. But what I found is that pretty much most of the students, the teachers, the faculty here, they're going to be willing to help you and push you through. No one is like cutthroat about the grades you're getting, or at least there are very few people in my experience that I have met that are very cutthroat about like the grades you're getting in classes, which is maybe unlike some schools that are like super competitive. And that's something I really like at Villanova is I feel like I can go to my classmates in the class, say if I have their number or something, like we'll work together on homework and obviously like submit our separate work and stuff, but like we are a very collaborative learning environment here, even though some of the classes may be difficult. And that's something that I have just found incredibly rewarding, because ultimately when you go work in a job or whatever you want to do after college, like team building and like working as a team in a collaborative environment is what you're going to be doing most. So I think Villanova does a great job of preparing their students for doing that just by like simply having the academic environment that we have.
The university also provides so many great resources to their students. Like Luke was saying, sometimes there are classes that just aren't your strong suit. I took calculus last year. I don't do math well, but I ended up going to the Math Learning and Resource Center, which is in Falvey Library. I found a friend in my class who also was a little bit confused about calculus. So every week we would go together, we'd bring our homework assignments, and there are senior math majors or graduate students that are getting a degree in math that would walk us through every problem. So you can really take advantage of the resources and work with other students just to better yourself.
I would say another thing that I get asked a lot is like how, like, were you just kind of blown away by the workload, like your first week of school? I would say I was not. I think one thing I that did bother me a little bit was a lot of my friends at other schools were like, oh, like syllabus week. And I was like, I got homework assigned on the first day of class in every class. But like I like to say it's a gradual process. Like if I look at the work I'm doing like in the second semester of my senior year, it's a lot harder than the work I was doing in my senior year of high school. But I also had 3.5 years in between that. And it's a very gradual increase to the point where you don't even realize like how much the sort of level of work that you're doing has increase in difficulty or how much more it requires of you, because you're kind of just like guided along that path. And I think the biggest immediate change I realized was like the amount of reading I was assigned. I also took a lot of like a lot of freshman seminar classes and things like that are more reading dense. So like if you're a STEM major, you probably won't have that experience. But a lot of sort of my core classes had more reading requirements than I was used to in high school. But again, you sort of work your way through that. And the reality is you don't have to read every page of every reading assignment that's assigned to you. And the sooner you can understand that and be okay with that, the better off that you'll be. Not saying that you shouldn't read. And that's my statement, not the university statement. Definitely read, but understand when you can sort of skim things or whatever and get through it. But yeah, it's a very gradual increase. And I think I think it was like my junior year, look back and I was like, wow, the work I'm doing right now is a lot more difficult than what I was doing in high school. But I sort of didn't realize that was happening.
Yeah, I can also talk as well because I've experienced both sides of the coin. So I came in with a lot of credits. So I finished out my freshman requirements last semester. So I'm starting out my sophomore year requirements this semester. And I can tell you that, like Tyler, it's completely different because now I'm taking upper level classes. But I will say that even though professors might throw a lot on you, I was taking 18 credits my fall semester. And that was a lot. So because Villanova actually signs you up for your schedule based on how many credits you have and requirements and such. But even though it was a lot, my professors definitely were like, if you need an extension, if you need a break, if like you just can't do it right now, like just let me know in advance, just so that like I know and I can just push the deadline for you. Like professors really do care. They care so much about you. I mean, I've even like talked to some of my professors, just dropped into office hours just because like I thought they were super nice and we talked about something in class that I just wanted to continue to talk about. I know like last semester I talked with my philosophy professor about time travel and the Flash, which is like not something that I feel like I would talk about with my high school teachers. This semester is definitely a little bit more difficult in a sense of like workload. Like I have a lot more tests than I did last semester. Essays have kind of reduced, and I'm taking a lot more upper level business classes, such as a business law class and also a information technology class. And it's just a lot, but I feel like again, professors really care and they tell you that if you need the extension, like today, for example, I wasn't feeling great. So I went on Zoom instead of going in person, and they were like, oh, just take all the time that you need. You don't even have to come to class if you don't want to. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just like they care more about your mental health. And that's what I really like about Villanova and just like the academic rigor and stuff. So there is academic rigor, but also you can pace it yourself if you want to.
Yeah, I think, it's a little cheesy, but one of our former deans of our engineering school used to always say, you walk into a lot of engineering schools and they always say, look to your left, look to your right, only one of you is going to be here at the end. And he said, but that's not how we do it at Villanova. At Villanova, we say, look to your left and look to your right. And those are the two people that are going to make sure that three of you graduate together in 4 years. And, I think it really does pan out. We throw the word community around a lot, but we all feel really strongly about it, that, we are here to support one another through both our social activities, our classroom activities, in order for everyone to be successful, to finish on time, to graduate, and to be happy when they graduate and have enjoyed their time at Villanova. And I hope that this time that we've kind of gone through tonight, that you've been able to see that and see the specialness of the community at Villanova. And for the sake of everyone's time, I'm gonna kind of to wrap us up here, but I did just want to share that we're not done after tonight. And so, you know, over the next week and a half, we're going to have a whole series of panels like this. Each of our academic colleges will be taking part in an evening. We're going to split the liberal arts from the sciences to kind of focus those down a little bit more. For the parents who are watching, we're going to have a special parent-to-parent night a week from tonight. And so your student will have to sign you up, but then we'd love to have the parents for that. We're going to have a night for financial assistance. For all of the students, we're hosting something we're calling Connect with a Cat on Saturday, February 27th. And the registration does close for that next week, but we're going to set up small group sessions of just about 5 newly admitted students along with 2 of our current students. So little small group chats of 7 to kind of ask those little questions you have, get to know one another, some of your fellow classmates. So I think that's probably our most fun thing that we're doing in these first couple of things. So to sign up for any of those, you'll just go to your applicant status page. And if we didn't quite get to your question today, encourage you to email us directly, either to our admission counselor or one of our current students. You can even text us if you have a quick question. And I encourage you over the next couple of months to follow both our Villanova admission as well as the Blue Key Instagram accounts, where we're going to be doing various tours of campus, kind of going live and showing you around parts of campus and buildings. We'll be doing Q&A things and a lot of content throughout that. So I hope all of those will help you as you kind of look to make your final decision and answer those questions. So I want to thank everyone on our panel who has joined us tonight. Thank you all so much. And thank you all for joining us on your end. Hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, everybody.